All right, I'm showing 5:30 and we do have a quorum, so we can go ahead and get started. I want to start the meeting off by welcoming Trustee Kristen Malhotra, who is taking the place of Trustee Heading, as now Trustee Malhotra is the president of the Deerfield Township Board of Trustees. And according to our code of regulations, whoever holds that position is on the CIC board. So Trustee Malhotra, welcome.
Thank you.
With that said, we do have an open board position for the CIC board. Trustee Heading was the president of the CIC board, and so now we have to fill that position. And so again, according to our code of regulations, the person nominated and accepting of that role today and voted in by you all their term as president of the CIC board will end in April. And so next month we'll come back and we'll elect all new officers to this board. So before we take nominations or anything, is there any questions regarding that? Okay. Do we have any nominations for president of the CIC board?
I would make a nomination to appoint Kristen Malhotra as the president of the CIC board, if there's any consideration or discussion for that.
Trustee Malhotra, do you accept?
I do accept. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hey, can you hear me? I second. I
Okay,
support.
great. All right, let's go ahead and vote on this. Trustee Malhotra,
Yes.
Mr. Reiners,
Yes.
Ms. Fritz. I saw you say yes there. So Mr. Sindez
Yes.
and Ms. Byrne.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. With that, we'll go ahead and get into the executive director's report. And so I just have some information today. This presentation was included in the packet that I sent out to you, but we'll go ahead and run through it quickly. So I want to start off by talking a little bit about continued coronavirus recovery in the area. So some of the work that's being done by other organizations in the county include the Warren County Small Business Development Alliance, and they oversee the work that's done by the Warren County Small Business Development Center. And so we currently have an executive board seat on the SBDA. I am the one that goes to those meetings. In fact, I had one today. And what they do, what the SBDC does is they work with entrepreneurs in all industries, all stages of growth. If individuals or business owners are looking for small business loans, they can assist with that. They hold classes on how to escalate their business or how to write a business plan and things of that nature to help prospective small business owners either start their business or grow their business. And the services that they provide are complimentary for both personal and business clients. And like I mentioned, among those are counseling, workshops, business planning, referrals, cash flow analysis, and more. So at the onset of the pandemic, they were granted money through the CARES Act to bring in additional assistance through independent consultants that have a specialized area of financial planning. And so we have one that is Mike Kelly, who's assigned to our territory, and people in the township are familiar with Mike Kelly. If I'm not mistaken, Eric, he sits on our finance committee, or Jen, maybe you can answer that. But he is a great guy, and we've met with him several times and pushed some companies his way. So that's just one example of what, at the county level, what's happening in terms of helping businesses in our community get back on their feet. Additionally, The Warren County did a funding program with additional CARES Act money. And this was run in partnership with the Small Business Development Alliance. And it offered aid to small businesses, nonprofit organizations, and child care centers. And this was a grant program that offered up to $10,000 for each business. In total, 19 companies in Deerfield Township received a total of $125,000 in funding from the program, which included 11 small businesses, 6 childcare agencies, and 2 nonprofits. I did not include those, the names of those businesses for confidentiality purposes, but I do have those, and happy to discuss in more detail if anybody would like more information. It is a public program, so those names are publicly available, and I can make them available to you all as well. Additionally, in terms of PPP funding, I've identified at this point 88 companies with over 3,000 employees in the township that have been identified as receiving PPP funds through the CARES Act. And in total, that support for those 88 companies was around $37.6 million. I am not completed in my analysis. In the zip code of 45040 alone, there was somewhere close to 1,000 companies to go through. So I haven't quite finished going through all 1,000 to make sure that they're in the township or not. So as I get more information on those companies, I will provide that to the board. So the outlook, obviously with the vaccine rollout underway, giving positive signs, cases are going down. It does seem that the real estate and the business market are beginning to be poised to ramp up operations. It's particularly in the township. I've noticed a lot more real estate signs are popping up. It seems like activity is starting to happen. And talking to brokers and building owners, it does seem like companies are starting to look at new leases or start to bring back employees. So this is a good sign that as the vaccine continues to come out and we start getting back into something normal, that our real estate market, particularly our commercial real estate market, will come back. To what extent is still yet to be seen. But we talked in our last meeting about the retail restaurant scene and how it really relies on daytime demographics. So getting those employees back, seeing companies fill up vacant spaces will be good in order to do that so that we can support the rest of the businesses in the township. Now, the symbolism of the real estate signs popping up does mean that there is more commercial space available in the township than prior to the pandemic, but I am optimistic based on what I'm hearing about those spaces being backfilled and the workforce is returning to the office. And like I said, hopefully the daytime demographics will return to near pre-pandemic levels over the next 12 to 18 months or so. So in terms of new business and project updates, we had.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Do you want me to hold? I've got a question for you, or do you want me to hold it to the end?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, have you gotten a sense from businesses whether they're going to be bringing employees back on site, or they're going to continue, or there's going to be a larger ongoing work from home workforce? Have you gotten any evidence of what the future holds?
Yeah. So in the in the meeting packet for our last meeting, I think I shared with you some of those exact conversations, and it's kind of a mixed bag. And in a recent between the last meeting and this one, I was able to have a conversation with a company, and I'll get into the details of that. But what we're hearing is kind of a mix of both. So what is good in terms of the township is for our bigger businesses here, or at least the majority of our bigger businesses here, the jobs that are here are kind of jobs that require to be on site. And so those, like the Macy's call center, for example, and Eversana, which has about 800 employees, they need their people on site. So our largest employers will see hopefully those jobs coming back into the office sooner rather than later. The other ones have found that remote work has been more productive than they probably previously indicated, and are talking about hybrid models moving forward. So I'm not exactly sure what percentage will be back in the office, what percentage will be remote work moving forward, but hopefully we'll start getting, as an end is near or within sight at least, hopefully the planning for that can start, and we can start hearing from businesses about exactly how many employees will be coming back, how many jobs are going to shift to remote permanently, so we have an idea of what that landscape looks like. So it's still a little too early to tell fully, but we're working on that information.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah,
have we seen any quarterly numbers year over year for vacancy rates for office and retail by chance?
I have not seen those yet. I can certainly put those together and send them out to the group though.
Thank you.
Yep, happy to do so. Okay, so in terms of new businesses in 2020, we do have 2 that are under construction. And they do happen to be both storage facilities. So we have the land and self-storage, which is under construction on US Route 22 and 3. And then we have the mini storage depot at the corner of Bards and Wilkins. And then we did see 20 new businesses or relocations in 2020. So a lot of those, some highlights here, a couple of fitness studios, AKT Studios, Stretch Lab, those are fitness uses. Condado Tacos opened up in the Deerfield Town Center. So, it's good to see that there was still new business happening in 2020 despite everything. And so hopefully we can build upon this as conditions start to become more normalized and back to the way things were pre-pandemic.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah,
I didn't see the new co-working place on this list. Is that on there somewhere?
I think
Or is
technically
there a reason
the
that?
fourth quarter of 2019.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Thank
that-
you.
And do you have a comparison of what 2019 numbers were?
I do. That'll take me a minute to look up. So as we get into, I will get that by the end of this meeting. I will have that number for you.
Okay.
So 2021 project updates, the District of Deerfield, those conversations are ongoing and they are positive. So we're in the midst of finalizing the plan for phase 2 with Silverman and Company, and the plan will include additional retail and apartments, a public space, and more. So that we're working on a hotel aspect on it, and the final hurdle is determining the approximate level of parking spaces to include in the development to ensure that each use has enough parking so that at a peak time when everybody's out, everybody's home, there's an event going on, that we can make sure that there's no overflow into the surrounding areas. So when we, that's the last kind of hurdle before we can get moving on phase 2. But we do expect that phase 2 will break ground hopefully within the next 12 months and keep that moving. Interlink Cloud Advisors is expanding, which is a very positive thing that happened fairly recently. So they were granted a job creation tax credit from the state of Ohio. And so they're bringing 16 additional high-paying jobs and retaining their 26 employees that they currently have in Deerfield Township. And they are a cloud solution provider helping customers migrate to Office 365, Azure, and other services. So that's good to keep those tech high-paying jobs here in the township and then build upon that.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all good, I think, especially in light of the 2020, but I'm just curious, what, if anything, and I don't mean that critically, I'm just asking, did you or somebody from the township play in bringing these people here? Are they coming here because they already like the area, or are they coming here because, you reached out to them and somehow incentivized them to come?
So we didn't provide any incentives. Certainly with the other ones from 2020, those were all things that Deerfield Township did play a part in because of having to do planning and zoning verifications and things of that nature. So there wasn't. What's nice about a lot of businesses locating here is that it is done because we do not have that income tax. We do have good demographics. So in terms of the bulk of these businesses, they came here on their own accord. Deerfield Township helped them in the process, whether it was through signage or space build outs. We did not incentivize any of these companies, but just providing information to them to make sure that they could operate. With Interlink Cloud Advisors, I worked with Ready Cincinnati to ensure that they were going to stay here. So there was multiple phone calls. We did do a letter to the state saying that we, are happy that the company's here and that we are okay with the state of Ohio providing the job creation tax credit there. So there was a role in that. The District of Deerfield, we are heavily involved in. There is some talk. I know the township previously has incentivized in terms of public works, and we are talking about how, in terms of the parking, possible economic incentives coming from the county, potentially from the township to help with that. So those conversations are definitely very involved. And so, there's a role that's played in some of these directly and some of them indirectly.
I guess my question, my follow-up would be then, okay, obviously I understand that the whole not having an income tax is a great benefit for Deerfield. We're doing these, business meetings. Do we do any kind of survey of why do people come to Deerfield?
So that's part of the business retention meeting is that question.
Yeah, but that's for businesses already here, not new ones, correct?
Correct. And so what we do in terms of attracting people is a marketing aspect. So promoting the township, submitting available real estate to other economic development organizations like Ready Cincinnati, promoting the real estate that we have, promoting the community, reaching out to businesses. The recent new business prospects here that I have listed. So family-oriented restaurant, co-working space, the board game themed restaurant, light manufacturing firm. Those are conversations that I'm actively having, trying to bring people here. And so they're looking at other areas and I'm explaining to them why they want to locate here or helping them identify sites that they could go into versus other areas.
I guess my point is I think it would be interesting or helpful for us to understand why ultimately these new businesses are choosing Deerfield over our competitor other locations around. And I don't know if there's any capacity or any way for you to kind of capture that information, but I do think it would be interesting to see why.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely wrap my head around that. Certainly, obviously, I mean, the big part of that is demographics. Another part of it's going to be simply we have the right space for them at the right time. And that's going to be a lot of it too. And so, but certainly I will try to put something more qualitative behind that and get it to you all.
Thank you. Not to give you more work, but I just
I
think it would be interesting, especially in light of how weird this last year has been, to kind of figure out why are these businesses choosing Deerfield.
100%, no problem. So as I mentioned, business retention visits. So we've talked about these in the past, and this is where these are the conversations with the existing ones to understand any issues that they might be having that would hinder them from growing within the community or to make sure that they stay here. And these are done obviously in partnership with Ready Cincinnati, Warren County Port Authority, Warren County Economic Development, and others as needed. So right now we have 18 companies that we're planning to conduct BRE visits with in 2021. That's the list of companies that we're targeting. And so we try to touch the bigger companies, every year or two, and then the smaller companies every 2 to 3 years, kind of on a rotating basis, but try to reach out to as many as possible. I'm going to try to go beyond this list as well. I have a stack of postcards that we made up that we're going to be sending to as many businesses as possible, just to have conversations, especially given 2021, to see how people are doing, see how companies are doing, and see if there are ways or avenues that we can provide any sort of support through them, whether it's through our partners or helping them, promote something marketing wise, or just trying to identify how we can help them tackle hurdles to make sure that 2021 gets them back on track with how they were doing pre-pandemic. So as I mentioned, there was one that we did in between our last meeting here, and that was with General Revenue Corp. And this was done in January. They have 135 employees in Deerfield, so it's a pretty strong corporation to have. And I'm not going to go through this list 100%, but the biggest challenge they're having right now is recruitment and finding talent. People are committing to interviews, but then not showing up to them. And that's actually something we've heard from other companies like Macy's as well, and Eversana. And so that has been a challenge. I don't know how we tackle that quite yet, but I've reached out to our workforce partners to try to figure that out, or try to give them new avenues for seeking potential employees. So we're working through those things. But this is a company that is going to, they are expected to retain remote work in their future workforce planning. This is one of those companies that I mentioned, they found it to be far more productive than they thought. They have been able to maintain success through the pandemic, which is great. They were hiring, they just brought in 12 new employees. They did bring all those in to bring them up to speed and then put them out to remote work. And so we'll see how that model kind of goes forward with in-person versus remote work with them, particularly because I think it'll be an interesting case study for some of the other businesses in the township as well. So we're going to have to touch base with this company again, probably later on in the year, early next year, to see how that's going. But they're happy in Deerfield Township. They have no current need to expand their physical footprint, but they have no intention of leaving. And they very much like being here, which is great. And then finally, the DORA. And so a DORA is a designated outdoor refreshment area. And so it allows patrons over the age 21 to purchase an alcoholic beverage from one establishment and carry it in an open container in a clearly defined area within the township into another establishment, or just sit outside and enjoy it. And so we do now have a DORA. It was formally approved by the state in February 2021. As you can see on the screen, that's the map of it. Essentially, it's the Deerfield Town Center, the District of Deerfield, and Deerfield Point. So I think, there was some question about, should we be pursuing a DORA while the pandemic is still going on? And I would argue that by allowing this to happen, it does actually give more people more room to social distance, to spread people out. And, as COVID-19 restrictions are still in place, all health-related guidelines will be promoted through all appropriate forms of communication to make sure that they are being abided by. This was being considered prior to the pandemic outbreak as well. But post-pandemic, it certainly represents an amenity to our local restaurant and retail establishments within this district. And it will be in place for many years to come. So right now, what we're doing is figuring out the logistics of the cups, because you need a cup that has a label on it. If you've been to Loveland or Mason has one, or Liberty Township has one, you might be familiar with these, but And we'll also need window clings stating whether or not the establishment is a participant in the DORA as well. And so we're just working out the logistics, getting the signage and everything to do that. But we're looking to really launch this at the start of spring and summer to make sure that when the weather's nice, people can enjoy the DORA. So that is all I have. Is there any additional questions that I can answer? All right. With that, Jen, I can turn it over to you and I will work on getting that 2019 new business number real quick. So we have new business things. So yeah, Jen has 3 items of new business that we'll need to take care of. And so yeah, Jen.
The first item before the board
I've lost Jen. Is anybody else?
Yeah, I think she froze.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I'm having technical difficulties here. So I'll start again. Again, my apologies. Tonight, the board is being asked to approve the CIC treasurer to sign checks for approved expenses.
I have no questions. I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion to, this was supplemental appropriations, is that correct?
No, it's check signer.
Oh, okay. We have a motion for the authorization of check signer and a second. 1 second. Ms. Malhotra,
Yes.
Mr. Reiners,
Yes.
Ms. Fritz,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Sindez,
Yes.
Mr. Story.
Yes.
It is approved.
Okay. We're going to jump down to the last item, which is the supplemental appropriations. Tonight, the board is being asked to approve a supplemental appropriations for the following expenses: accounting fees. There's an additional IRS form that needs to be filed, which is the 990. Professional services, additional bank fees are being charged the account. And then the last thing for supplemental is office supplies. The CIC needed to purchase
Oh,
I think we,
well,
yeah, I
it
think
was
we
frozen
lost
there.
Jim again.
It appears I missed Ryan. I didn't realize he had joined the call. Mr. Silverman, do you have a vote on the motion to approve the authorization of check signer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Jen, do we have you back?
Okay. I'm sorry, I'll try to make this quick since I keep fading in and out. The next item is supplemental appropriations. The board
We lost her again.
Yeah, I can try to cover that for Jen since she's freezing up. I'm actually having technical difficulties as well, so let me know if I cut out Jim or someone. The supplemental appropriations, I think what Jen was starting to say when she made references to the supplies, those are actually for the checks for the CIC, which obviously is why we had requested for the signer. So we're asking for approval for those supplemental appropriations as presented.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve supplemental appropriations. Ms. Malhotra,
Yes.
Mr. Reiners,
Yes.
Ms. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Silverman,
yes,
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Sindez,
Yes.
Mr. Story.
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next item we have are for purchase orders in the amount of $2,551. Is there a motion to approve those purchase orders?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve purchase orders and is seconded. Ms. Malhotra,
Yes,
Mr. Reiners,
Yes.
Ms. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Silverman,
yes,
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Sindez,
Yes.
and Mr. Story.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then the last item from finance are the warrants totaling $1,182.85. Is there a motion to approve those warrants as presented?
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Malhotra,
Yes,
Mr. Reiners,
Yes.
Ms. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Silverman,
yes,
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Sindez,
Yes.
and Mr. Story.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you all. And now we have the approval of the meeting minutes, which were included in the packet from our meeting on December 9th, 2020. Did you have any questions regarding those minutes? Hearing
I
none.
move,
Nope.
I was gonna say, I moved that we approve them.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from 12:09. Ms. Malhotra,
yes,
Mr. Reiners,
Yes.
Ms. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Silverman,
yes,
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Sindez,
Yes.
and Mr. Story.
Yes.
Excellent, motion passes. With that, do we have any comments from the board members?
If I could make one, this is Eric. Again, I apologize, my video cut out. Ms. Byrne, you had asked the question about, surveying businesses to try to determine, why is it that they come to Deerfield and why do they choose Deerfield? Back in 2017, we had actually done a study with Market Street and sent out a pretty lengthy series of surveys to businesses throughout Deerfield. And I'll work with Jim and pull up that old survey data to circulate back to this board. And I think, as most of us could imagine, the reasons, at least in 2017, were pretty self-explanatory, given Deerfield's character and what we offer. A lot of it was based on diversity in housing stock, the demographic in our population and the working age of our population, the amenities. Obviously, no earnings tax. There were a number of things, investment in infrastructure, that these businesses ranked. So I'll pull that old one up and send it out. But I guess, kind of to your point, I think it would be interesting to see as we go into 21 and 22. Has that changed? Are there differences in why businesses choose to locate here or why they choose to relocate elsewhere? So. It's been a couple of years. Maybe it is an appropriate time, to your point, to take another look at that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that survey data. And I think what else would be interesting is just to see, I don't anticipate there being a difference, but I think in light of the fact that we've done these business retention evaluations for a while, to see if there is a difference between why people come here versus why people stay here. And just, I think this board is still trying to figure out what we're meant to do. But I think before we answer that question, we really have to get a good idea of who's the population that we're serving. Like, why are people coming here? Why are they staying? And what can we do to ensure that both things happen?
Yeah, I agree. I think those are great points.
Absolutely. So going back to the question of how many new businesses in 2019, I can provide the data to you, but it looks like 35. So it was 20 in 2020 and 35 in 2019.
Yeah, not surprising.
Do we have any additional comments?
Has anything happened with Best Way property? Any updates on that?
Eric?
Yeah, I can speak to that, Scott. So obviously the township had filed, Julie can probably fill in all the legal jargon, but basically we were trying to abate the nuisance at Best Way. We were granted our preliminary injunction, and we are closing down the Best Way Inn. In fact, the order was posted on the property today, and everyone is required to vacate that property on Thursday morning. So we'll be taking enforcement action with the sheriff's office. And basically what this preliminary injunction is, it basically says that he cannot operate that as a hotel until we've held trial's been held. So we anticipate, the township will be working with the property owner to kind of determine next steps. Is it going to go all the way to trial, or will there be some type of settlement before then? But effective Thursday morning, they will be closed as a hotel.
Thanks, Eric.
Well, if there's no additional comments, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn. Ms. Malhotra,
Yes.
Mr. Reiners,
Yes.
Ms. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Silverman,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Sindez,
Yes.
Mr. Story.
Yes.
All right, thank you all. I'll send out an invitation for our next meeting, which will be in April, so that we can elect new board officers, and I'll continue to get any updates based on our conversation tonight and see if we can't put something together for that survey. But thank you all for your time tonight, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.